Welcome to this explainer. Right now, at this exact second as you're taking this in, there are literally thousands of companies competing fiercely for one specific thing. And the crazy part? They aren't actually competing for your money. They aren't even competing for your brand loyalty right now. They are competing for your mind. They are fighting tooth and nail for your attention. Because, think about it. Before anyone, anywhere, can sell you absolutely anything at all, they first have a massive hurdle to clear. They need you to notice them. If they can't get you to simply look their way for just a second, their product, no matter how incredible or life-changing it might be, essentially doesn't exist to you. It's completely invisible. In today's hyper-connected world, human attention has rapidly become one of the single most valuable resources on planet Earth. It's the ultimate gateway to influence. If you trace it back, some of the absolute largest, most profitable companies in human history aren't built on physical resources like oil or steel anymore. Nope, they are built entirely around the architecture of capturing, holding, and ultimately monetizing your daily attention. Which brings us to the core question of this explainer, and it's a pretty profound one. How exactly do marketers capture our attention in a world that is already so incredibly, overwhelmingly noisy? Why do certain brands, products, or even just catchy little jingles stay completely stuck in our heads, while thousands of others are instantly forgotten? Well, let's break down the psychology behind this. To really understand this, I want you to visualize something with me. Imagine you're walking through a massive, impossibly crowded marketplace. Instantly, add the auditory overload to that. Hundreds of people shouting, music blaring, sirens in the distance, alerts pinging on phones, all in that exact same crowded marketplace. It is a massive, chaotic influx of data slamming into your ears every millisecond. And to complete this whole sensory visualization, picture the constant, unpredictable movement of thousands of products, flashing signs, and people rushing all around you. It's completely overwhelming. If your brain actually tried to fully process every single color, sound, and movement in real time, it would literally short circuit. So, to survive that marketplace, your brain uses a deep evolutionary survival mechanism called selective attention. Because your brain literally cannot process everything, it acts like a ruthless bouncer at a club. It's a filter, constantly asking, what actually deserves my attention right now? It ignores almost everything to focus only on what appears important for survival. And here's the kicker. Marketers know this. That means they have to design campaigns specifically engineered to bypass this natural filtering system. So let's look at tool number 1, curiosity. You know the feeling. You're scrolling online at 2 a.m. and you see a headline like, "You won't believe what happened next," or "Most people make this one huge mistake." Why is that literally impossible to ignore? Because of something called the curiosity gap. Humans naturally hate incomplete information. When information feels like it's missing a piece, it creates a real mental tension in our brains. It's an itch. Our minds desperately crave closure and answers. This tool is incredibly powerful because it doesn't just aggressively force you to click, it plants an unanswered question right inside your mind, and your own brain does the heavy lifting of demanding the answer. Now, this beautifully illustrates the second major tool, emotion. Imagine 2 different ads. The first is just a cold, logical list of bullet-pointed product features. The second tells a rich, emotional story that makes you laugh out loud, or maybe it even makes you tear up a bit. Ask yourself honestly, which one of these ads are you actually going to remember tomorrow morning? It's almost always going to be the emotional one, and here's exactly why. Emotions like fear, joy, surprise, and hope, they act as a massive, glowing neon signal to your brain's filter. They shout, "Hey, this matters. Pay attention to this right now." Emotional content travels so much faster and sinks so much deeper into human memory than purely logical information ever could. The greatest marketers out there aren't just presenting facts, they are engineering emotional experiences. All right, let's dive into the third tool, which relies on a psychological quirk called the mere exposure effect. This highlights the truly fascinating reality that the more often you simply see a brand in your daily environment, the more comfortable and trustworthy it inherently feels to you, even if you have literally never bought their product. Familiarity breeds preference. This is exactly why megacorporations will happily spend billions just keeping their logo visible on billboards and screens everywhere, even if you haven't eaten one of their hamburgers in a decade. They just want to feel familiar to you when you are finally ready to buy. Our fourth tool is one you've definitely experienced firsthand. Imagine you're visiting a new city and you're looking for a restaurant. You see two places right side by side. One is completely empty. The other has a massive, long waiting line spilling out the door and down the block. Instantly, without even looking at a menu, which one feels like the safer, better choice? You're almost certainly going to choose the crowded one, right? Why? Because we use social proof. We use other people's decisions as a rapid mental shortcut for our own. Marketers understand our deep, subconscious need for social proof, which is exactly why they surround us with these markers of trust. When you see 5-star reviews, glowing customer testimonials, high ratings, your favorite influencers using a product, or detailed case studies, all of those things are sending one very simple, incredibly powerful message to your brain. Other people trust us. They prove that whenever there's uncertainty in a buying decision, human beings will almost always just follow the crowd. Now, hearing all this psychology stuff might make you feel a bit uncomfortable. You might be wondering, wait, is this all just dark manipulation? But look at the crucial distinction here. Manipulation strictly benefits the seller at the expense of the customer. It's a trick. But true influence, that creates real value for both sides. Ethical psychology in marketing isn't about tricking people into buying junk they don't need. It's about deeply understanding human behavior so you can effectively help people discover real solutions to the actual problems they already have. Which brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, your most valuable resource. Why is this invisible battle for your mind escalating exponentially every single year? Well, it all comes down to this stark number, 24. Think about it. Every single year, the amount of content generated on the internet increases. The number of advertisements increases. The pinging notifications on our phones increase. The sheer volume of information is exploding. But human attention? It doesn't scale. It is hard-capped at exactly 24 hours a day. Because our attention cannot increase to match the flood of information, it becomes incredibly scarce. And as we know from basic economics, things that are highly scarce become incredibly valuable. This intense scarcity is exactly what drives the entire modern marketing funnel. It always starts with capturing attention. That attention then builds trust, which eventually grants influence and ultimately leads to sales and revenue. The businesses that are winning in the modern economy are the ones that have completely mastered step 1 long before they ever attempt step 4. So I want to leave you with this somewhat provocative thought. The biggest companies in the world aren't just selling you phones or clothes or software anymore. They are competing for valuable real estate inside your mind. The next time an ad makes you stop scrolling or a video keeps you watching just a little bit longer than you actually meant to, ask yourself, what psychological trigger just bypassed my brain's filter? Challenge yourself to notice these patterns in your own daily life, because once you see the hidden architecture of the attention economy, you will realize that the real product being bought and sold every single day isn't the item sitting on the shelf. It's human attention itself. Thank you so much for giving me yours today.